Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's Space Engineers Plus Me, episode 28. I'm Enigmaeus, and today we're going to space. That's our goal. That's our mission. That's the only thing that we're aiming to do by the end of this episode is to get into space. Before we do that, we're going to take a look at what we've done with the rest of the ship since the last episode. Last episode, we showed you all of these hydrogen tanks that we had. We had 12 hydrogen tanks storing hydrogen to use for hydrogen thrusters to get us off this rock, and I've since added 6 more. So there's 3 more hydrogen tanks on this side and 3 more on the other side. None of them are full. Some of them are close to full, but we're going to be okay. Now, if it sounds like I'm awfully confident about our ability to breach the gravity well, it's because I've already done it. But thanks to Windows and its rapid update schedule, it downloaded a bunch of updates and crashed my recorder, and I didn't realize it. We went to space, didn't record any of it, so we're doing it again. This was the oxygen generators that we looked at in the last episode. We've got 12 of those. Also in the last episode, we looked at our refineries. We've got 4 of those, and they're all fully upgraded with all the things. And then I've added some assemblers. We've got 3 assemblers with productivity upgrades so that they work a little bit faster so that we can make components while we're in space. If we want to build a ship or make some repairs or some adjustments, we can do that. We'll have the assemblers that we can do that with. I've added storage, 2 large cargo containers on this side and then 2 more on the other side. We'll see those as we work our way over. Running along, you see we've got 1 large reactor here and its twin on the other side. So we've got 2 large reactors. This is because we've got a lot of equipment. I don't really think that we'll need 2 large reactors, but between the equipment and the possibility of adding ion thrusters between now and the time that we make our way back onto a planet, I wanted to make sure that we had a reasonable amount. We don't have any batteries on board yet. We might change that in the future, but for now, it's just a 2 large reactors. So there's our 2 large cargo containers over here, mirroring the ones over there. And this is where some of you might be shaking your heads. This is 18 arc furnaces. Now these are used for processing the 3 basic ores: iron ore, nickel ore, and cobalt ore. And we don't need, under any circumstances, 18 of these, but I just felt like making them anyways. Now I understand the more you add, the more weight you add to the ship. The more weight you add, the more thrust you need to make it go up in the air. And the more thrust you need, the more fuel you need. So normally we might be a little bit concerned, but because we know the future, I'm not that worried about it. And they're just grinding away, doing their thing. It's very noisy, especially when there's so many of them. So that's below decks. That's the equipment area, and it's just like cramped, and it's got all this ducting and all this other stuff. I think it looks kind of cool by the time you get it all assembled. Oh, right over here, we've got a total of 6 oxygen tanks. So we have hydrogen tanks storing hydrogen for fuel. We have oxygen tanks storing oxygen so that we have stuff to breathe. It seemed like a good idea, especially when we're processing the ice. The worst case scenario is if we forget to put in the oxygen tanks until we've processed all of our ice, and then we forget about it, we put it in, we don't realize we've processed all of our ice, then we go into space with no oxygen reserves. Bad. That would be so bad. That's the control seat that's been here all along. We've got these are considered windows, these things that I'm running on now, but they make much better looking stairs, I found. We've got doors. We've got sliding doors. We can manage them each individually, or we can manage them from our control seat. We can set them up so that we can open them all or close them all, depending on what we want to do. This is the bridge, if you want to call it that. So we've got this great big window in the front, and then we've got some smaller windows. It's kind of rounded. And it's got a great view out the front. But I always find it a little bit odd that we go to the trouble of making things like this, and we call it the bridge, and we make it sound like it's an important part of the ship that we'd be able to see out the window. But it's not, really, because when you think about it, you hop in this, and you get the view of whatever angle you want, as close to or as far away from the ship as you want, within reason, and without all the dirt on the windows. So it's just one of those things, you kind of build it in for the sake of make-believe. It's not really necessary. I know it's nighttime. It's very dark. You can see we get in a little bit closer. It does have kind of a rounded aquarium kind of feel. I almost want to fill it up with water and just kind of swim around in it and charge people to come and watch me. But I don't think that's going to go over so well. So we're just going to call it the bridge with the rounded glassy window sections and get back to work. Hop out of there. So that's the bridge. And now we're just going to take a quick look at what we've got outside. It is nighttime, so we aren't going to be able to see it super clearly. But we will be able to see the important details. We've got 2 landing areas. We've got one here with the connector and 4 lights, and we've got one over here with a connector and 4 lights, so we can dock effectively 2 ships. I could see having like a construction ship and a mining ship and possibly a cargo ship. We'll see how it goes. So one of them would have to be, stuck over here somewhere if we wanted to have all 3 ships on board. But we can dock 2 with connections to cargo space to transfer to and from. We've got the stuff that we had from the last episode. We've got our hydrogen thrusters, and we've got 2 more hydrogen thrusters. And I did some math to figure out roughly how many thrusters we would realistically need to get off the ground based on the mass of the ship. Now, the mass of the ship that I was using at the time was 9 million kilograms, and it included all kinds of things that we had on board, like ice that was being processed. And when we process ice into gas, hydrogen, and oxygen, it goes from having a mass, having a weight, to having no weight at all. It's just gas, even though technically when you put it into a tank, it would still add mass. It's just, you get the idea. We've lost some weight since I did the calculations. But I determined that I was going to need way more thrusters than I had, no matter how I planned on getting the ship off the ground in terms of what direction I was facing. I had originally thought maybe I would be able to take off, just get it basically up off the ground and then tilt it up and then use these reverse or these forward thrusters as sort of my lift thrusters. And that wasn't going to work. So after we did the math, we added 5 more thrusters on this side, 5 more thrusters on the other side, and we added sort of like a little wing kind of thing. We could spend a little more time on it, detail it a little bit, make it look a little bit better, but realistically, it's not a priority. It was basically I needed a place to put thrusters that wouldn't scrape on the ground when we go to land the thing, because we've still got, we're still holding it a ways above what is really necessary. When we finally get all this crap ground off, the temporary stuff, these are the landing gears. They don't come down any farther than that, so we have to be a little bit cautious about what we're bringing close to the ground that we might want to keep. Now this middle guy, we can get rid of him. We can be relatively assured that he's not necessary. I'm not at all comfortable about grinding this guy off, and I'm certainly not comfortable about grinding this guy off. We can take off some of the side bits here we don't need or want. What we're going to end up doing, rather than taking our chances with grinding things off and having the whole ship come down on our head, is we're going to head off out into space, and then when we get into space, we're going to go for a little spacewalk, and we'll grind it all off then. So that's going to be the plan. Now, we're heading to the moon, but we can't see the moon from where we are now. We can barely even see our ship because my choice of purple lighting does very little for the illumination, but we can at least see the basics of it. We can see the Mars-like planet with its moon, and off in the distance, way off in the distance, we can see the alien planet and its moon. But our moon is kind of over here somewhere, and we won't actually be able to see it until we get up into the air. So with that in mind, it's time to stop yammering about all the cool things that we did with our ship. We're going to tuck our head back in here carefully. We're going to get everything pressurized. We're going to get all the doors closed. We're going to get the oxygen set up properly. So we want to... I hate it when we get like text overlapping on text. There we go. They're all closed. We're going to check and make sure that they're closed. See? All closed. Everybody's secured. Ready to go. And then we're going to turn off stockpile on the oxygen and turn on the vents, so that should eventually oxygenate the bridge. The bridge is the only area I'm worried about keeping oxygenated, realistically speaking. There's absolutely no way I'm going to go through all the trouble of keeping the below decks area oxygenated. That's why we've got pairs of doors between us and that area, is that we can have kind of like an airlock system and not have to worry about keeping oxygen down there. We've got plenty of oxygen tanks, and that is plenty for our purposes. So now, all of that being taken care of, We're going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see some things. And we are going to provide hydrogen to our thrusters. Turn them on. There we go. We're going to release the landing gear and we're going to ascend. And we're headed straight up. We're just going all the way up into space. And we're not looking back. Well, we might look back because it's actually kind of a neat view when you start to get some altitude over the planet, especially when the sun starts to come up. The nice thing is we can see our altitude over the ice lake laid out in front of us with the, what's the word? The horizon. It's not the real horizon, though. It's not the fake horizon. I can't think of it right now. I can't think of the word. But it doesn't matter because we're 3.5 kilometers above the ice lake, going strong. Lots of thrust. What we are going to do eventually is we're going to turn off the inertial dampeners so that when we release the space bar to stop the lift thrust, we don't get counter thrust trying to slow us down and stop us. It's just going to let us keep going. As we continue to ascend, eventually, there we go, the planet gravity off on the left-hand side is actually started going down. We're 0.93 Gs from the 1.0 Gs that we had when we were down on the planet's surface. As the Gs go down, the slowing effect that it has on us will also go down, so we can start releasing the thrust and saving some fuel on the way up just by kind of keeping an eye on the G's. So we're going to turn off the inertial dampeners. So now let's just see the idea here for me. Oh, now it's telling us when we were over 100 meters per second, we were over the speed limit. What I want to take a look at is the speed and releasing the spacebar until it gets to around 90 meters per second and then hitting the thrust to bring it back to 100 and just doing that. And eventually we'll get to the point where it'll be like 10 seconds between bursts of 1 second thrust. So we're going to save a ton of fuel. You can see now 2, maybe 3 seconds before we hit the 90 meters per second square, and then we just kind of give it a little bit of a boost to get it back up to the top speed. And it just saves fuel. We're in fuel conservation mode. Once we get into space, I suspect that what we'll be doing is just getting ourselves up to 100 meters per second in the direction of the moon, and then basically turning the thrusters off for all practical intents and purposes and just letting inertia carry us to our destination without having to expend any more fuel. So for now, we can just do a little bit of a time lapse, listen to a little bit of music. You can see me, we'll be moving the camera around a little bit, and we'll be working our way out of the gravity well of the planet. And just like that, we are out of the gravity well. There is no gravity. The bridge is well oxygenated. We're breathing just fine without our helmet. We're gonna have to, boy, I tell you, there's going to be some close calls with the suffocation, I can tell you. You can see, the nice thing about this view, aside from it being kind of cool, is the ice lakes. You can see all of the ice lakes so clearly, and then you can go down and mine them for stuff. We're getting to the point now where the acquisition of resources is becoming less of an issue. It's not a matter of whether or not we can find them and whether or not we're going to be able to get our hands on them. It's more of an issue of what are we going to do with them when we've got them stockpiled in great gigantic containers towering to the moon itself. So that's something for us to keep in mind. But it all starts with the hunt for platinum, which will take place right there on that guy. If the ship would stop wobbling around. That's the moon that we're going to. And what we're going to do is we're going to orient ourselves, I guess would be a better term, to face the moon so that when we sign in the next time, we'll know exactly where we're going. I'm going to hit the inertial dampeners to bring the ship to a dead stop so that we're not drifting in any odd directions, because we basically just did the straight vertical shot off the surface of the planet, and I want to make sure that wherever we end up going is where we want to be. So there's the moon. We'll just kind of keep it in view so that as we're turning very, very slowly, this ship does not turn quickly at all. There we go. We're down to 0. We're basically floating in space. I'm wondering if a little bit of forward movement won't help us rotate a little faster. The first time I came up here, I saw that stuff flying past the ship, and I was afraid that a pirate had found me and was shooting at me, and I didn't have any weapons on the ship, and it was going to suck. But it's not. It's just the space dust flying by, reminding us that we are in fact moving, because if we didn't have that, we might wonder, because it's really just a background of stars and our target that is far, far away. So there we go. We did it. We made it outside the gravity well. We left the planet far, far below us. Everything is marked. Everything that we had, our base, everything that we're doing on the ice lake, it's marked on the GPS so that we can come back to it later if we really, really want to. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to find some platinum. We're going to goof around. We're going to see what the moon looks like. We're going to bring the platinum back to this place, I think, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how I do with the not suffocating bit. If I can keep a handle on that, we might just keep our operations in space for the time being. And then our next big ship project will be taking us to the Mars-like planet to do some exploration there. So if you want to be notified about future videos, especially the next one, when we arrive on the moon, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.